Okay, so we're going to do a quick live again. It's going to be about how men love. And again, the 4B movement is none of my business. My business is to make sure that for those of us who have been blessed with amazing men who were loving, tender, masculine, alpha males, meaning strong masculine presence, and who knew how to take care of their women. That's basically what this live is going to be about, because I don't know about you, but I feel very strongly that young women are actually throwing in the hat already before they've even gone out there. It's not quantity that makes you know men, it's quality. It's not how many men you've gone through. It's not how many men you've dated that's going to make you an expert on men. It's going to be how you discern the quality of a masculine. And so I'm going to tell you stories of how men love and how they know they love and how they get embittered by embittered women and how embittered women get embittered by men. In other words, it's a two-way street. It's not a one-sided way. And the movement of absolute hate that I'm seeing from sporting a t-shirt of Artemisia, who did this incredible painting. It is actually a great painting, don't get me wrong, but it's a painting of a woman beheading her rapist, okay? And it was painted in the 17th century. And there's no argument that misogyny was an absolute plague for thousands of years. There's no argument. But you know what? Her father taught her how to paint. So here was a masculine, her own father, who taught her how to paint and who respected her as an equal artist to her. I think people need to start looking at not the fucking toxic pieces of shit out there that are making you think that men don't know how to love. I remember in 1980 something, I forgot, my then fiance had a friend who had gone to Mexico, set eyes on this beautiful girl, and they actually married 24 hours, I'm saying 24 years, 24 hours later. I never heard of any story like that. Actually, I've never heard of a story since then. But he saw her, they saw each other, and boom, they got married, moved back to San Francisco, had 2 beautiful boys, were married for 40 years. Without cheating, his name was George. He owned a mechanic shop right there in San Francisco, right off Haight-Ashbury. And he was loyal, because my fiance would tell me who was a cheater and who wasn't. He was not a cheater. He never laid eyes on any other woman. And he told my fiance at the time, I knew the minute I laid eyes on her that she was the one. Men know how to love. Trust me. I've had clients from all over the world, and men will go through women like fucking underwear. Don't get me wrong. I know that. There are a lot of men like that. But every blue moon, I'll hear of a man saying, I don't know why. There's something different about her. I can't, put it into words. And then you have grown-ass men who know why. They know exactly why that's the one. And they know that she is to be treasured, protected, honored. I remember my father having a heart attack and went to the hospital for 10 days and asked for my mother to give him, because she would carry a small purse of a little pocket perfume of her favorite perfume. And he asked her if he could have it because he would spray her perfume on his pillows so he could sleep. The man was a World War II GI vet. Okay? He was a man's man. I remember when my twin realized that I was very, very sick and massively sick when I first went into union with him, and how he would massage me every single day from head to toe, how he would do acupressure on my feet, how he would set up my breakfast every morning, how he treated me like a queen. I would go to work and he'd ask me, how long it would be before I got home, and I'd walk into a bubble bath. And he was a man's man. He was a boxer. He would run up hills. He was a badass. He intimidated other men. But with me, he treated me like gold. There are men who know how to love. There are men who are toxic, but they still know how to love. And they do their best. And there's this idea that men are some other planet, some like freak, I don't know, reptilian that you can trust. You need to understand the difference between a man who will say, I only date girls that are 19, no older. That's a piece of shit. There's no argument. And then there's a man that will fall in love and stay in love with the same woman and never, ever wander. Never. Doesn't matter how many times women, by the way, it's good. Women chase that married man, knowing he's married. Because I've met a lot of women in the kind of work that I do. A lot of women that have said, well, I don't know, I just want some fun. He's hot. Well, I understand, but you just told me he's married. Yeah, I just want to, I just want him. Just want some fun. It's no big deal. It's not like I'm going to take him away from her. So I've heard like pieces of shit on both sides of the gender fence. And I think that we need to, as women, realize that we should not put ourselves on a pedestal. It's very simple. They experience emotions just as deeply as women do. They're just programmed to suppress it. But they're programmed by who? Who do you think they're programmed by? So my twin was like that when I was with my fiance, and I got married. He's the father of my son. He would iron my dresses for work. He'd work, and he'd pull out the starch, and he ironed my dresses better than I fucking ever could. He'd make sure that I remember when I worked at a particular job where I'd work till midnight, right? 1 o'clock, sometimes as late as 1 o'clock in the morning. He'd walk from Haight-Ashbury. If you guys know San Francisco, you'll know what I'm about to share with you. He'd walk from Haight-Ashbury all the way to Pier 39. I'm not joking. And because we didn't have enough money for bus fare both ways. And then he would, make sure I was safely on the bus, and together we'd take the bus back home. That was in the 80s. We were kids. We were like in our early 20s. And he was a gentleman. He made sure I was safe. He didn't just leave me in harm's way, right? So maybe I should tell you these stories, because then you'll actually have a higher bar. You won't take any shit from any man. If a man is flirting with a chick, like a chick or the waitress, you don't have to make a scene. You fucking leave. You don't take that shit from any man. I don't care how much money he has. I don't care how intelligent he is. I don't care that you're just dating now. It's a sign that shit's not going to go well, and that's your red flag, okay? If you're with a man who is shy and is nervous around you, but he's a good man, you give that man a chance. But in terms of a man that's going to play you from the day one and not respect you, forget it. I remember my father adored my mother, and don't get me wrong, he was not a greatest example of a monogamy, okay? The problem with a lot of men is they've been wired to, and they have been, for hundreds of years, thousands of years, to believe, okay, that they need to be polyamorous, that they need many women, and that has been enforced in the Bible, as you know, in the Quran, as you know, and other scriptures, as you know that. So it's been taught to men, but there are men who are inherently polyamorous, and they'll never be honest with you about it. And so they'll end up cheating. Instead of saying, look, I can't be faithful to you. It's a promise I can love you, but I can't. And there are some men that are miraculously, I call them unicorns, who actually can be completely and utterly devoted to you and monogamous to you. And they have been. My fiancé was one of them, okay? My twin needed women's attention sometimes, but he was lovely anyway. He was lovely in that whenever we were together, it was all hands on deck. It was all about me. And he had me on a pedestal, to be honest. My husband, the same. I mean, the father of my son, the same. My father would take my mom, because in those days, you have to remember that's in the 60s and 70s and 80s. He would take her and have her clothes made in Paris, in Rome, in Hong Kong. And I remember him so excited that he had designed for her a suit. And he was there with the designer pouring over silk velvet and the right burgundy blouse that was the palest shade you could get in the color spectrum of burgundy, but going all the way back to the palest. This was a man's man. So when men tell me that they're uncomfortable going to a lingerie shop, and I don't mean Victoria's Secrets, because that's, no offense, I don't want to offend you, but fuck it, it's cheap shit. I mean a proper lingerie shop, okay? When a man feels uncomfortable going to a lingerie shop, then I would say to the man, teach yourself how to fucking do it. Walk in, learn, educate yourself. What does she need? Garter belts, silk panties, bras. What's a good lace? What cup is she? You should know that. If you don't know that, find out. Go in her lingerie drawer, not to wear the shit, to look at the sizes. Okay, I'm being honest. Okay? What else can I tell you? Oh, yeah. Those kinds of things are a bonding. It's a love language. A love language also is when your woman has her period. What do? You go get her tampons, you get her chocolate, you get her magazines, and then you cuddle her. This is not your opportunity to get a BJ. This is your opportunity to be intimate with her, to rub her belly, to rub her back, her lower back, her shoulders, to put on ambient music and light candles. It's to set it up. Real men do that. Real men cook. Real men clean the dishes. I remember waking up to my father, who was insomniac, to grilled chicken and Uncle Ben's rice. He would have been up all night, simmering that chicken at a low flame all night, and by the time we woke up on a Saturday morning, here was coffee with orange slices and cinnamon sticks, and grilled chicken and white rice for breakfast. Yeah, it's crazy, but the fuck, that was our breakfast. And he would clean the dishes. He was born in 1923 during the Depression. Real men cook. They know how to cook very well. Real men know how to choose wines. They pay attention to the kind of perfume the woman wants, smells like. They kind of get a sense of what she goes for. Floral, musk, citrus. They pay attention. Real men do. Real men they know how to make love to a woman for hours. I have a famous story that I shouldn't know about it, but I did. It was a famous story of the 7 days at the Golden Bear. What was the story about? My parents fucking, eating for 7 days at a hotel, a little hotel somewhere in Zurich, Switzerland. Okay? That's what real men do. That's how real men love. All right? It's not a fucking, it doesn't take a lot of brain cells to put that together. It's called connecting to your sensuality. It's to be vulnerable. It's making love to your woman and making eye contact. It's making love to her and restraining yourself so that you can enjoy yourself, because there are some tantric techniques that you can learn from Montauk Chi, one of the best teachers on sexuality for the masculine. Again, his name is Montauk Chi. He's a famous Chinese teacher, ancient Chinese, techniques of sexuality using chi energy, things of that nature. Yeah, real men learn how to do that kind of shit. Just like real women have a yoni egg on their windowsill, or 2 or 3. Real women are doing Kegel exercises to, not just so they don't pee in their pants in the middle of a bus stop or in a restaurant, but so that they can have muscle power. That's what real women do. And real men know how to love. They know how to be strong and stoic for you as an emperor, as a warrior, and they know how to weep in your arms like a little boy. They know how to make you feel safe, and they know how to be vulnerable. And there are a lot of men like that, a lot. There is a propensity out of 8 billion people. We're going to have a propensity for mostly inept lovers, inept people who aren't very intelligent, who don't know the art of conversation, who don't know how to be sensual and generous and kind. Sometimes generosity isn't buying a bottle of champagne or a Godiva chocolate. Sometimes it's on the impulse of seeing a field of flowers and stopping the car and telling your woman, I'm going to go get you some flowers. Sometimes that's all it is. Wildflowers in a field and bringing them to her. You don't have to have money to be a loving man. You don't have to be rich or have a private jet or have a Rolex watch worth 50 grand. You don't have to buy her a $100,000 diamond ring. A woman who would admire and love a man who is loyal and is devoted to her will be happy as long as you have all eyes on her. And you make the efforts of letting her know, I love you should be said every day. Emojis of hearts and kisses, of I can still taste you in my mouth, of I can still smell you. I can't wait to hear your voice. I can't wait to feel your touch, the nectar of your touch. It's something that women and men should be doing to each other, for each other. And it should be vulgar sometimes. It should be vulgar, but in a playful way. Leaving a message that makes your man blush. Yeah, on a text. Things like that it's the word. We're so wired right now in our society of hating men, of wearing t-shirts there's a t-shirt right now that's going viral. It's a famous painting by Artemisia, and she was raped by a painter. Her father was a good man, as I said, and she's beheading the guy. It's based on an old, trying to remember, it's from the Bible. Really pleasant. But anyway, so women are actually saying that's what girls will do. Things like that. Women going almost rabid, talking about how they're going to harm men if they see them on the streets, shit like that. There's threats going on and rage and 4B movements. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it to yourself. Do you want to be loved? I don't care if you're being loved by a woman who's more masculine. I don't care if you're going to be loved by an opposite gender. But if you want to be loved, then you can't be angry. And if you want to be loved and you want to love, then you cannot keep believing that these amazing men aren't alive and well. In fact, your generation, this generation, has more conscious thinking men like Ari, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I could go on and on. There's so many content creators that are amazing, that are good. They're good men. And by the way, most of them are taken, okay? So, but that doesn't mean there aren't any single men seeking you. And there's an old saying, what you seek is seeking you. I've had my loves. And I wonder, have you had yours? Because if you don't know or you've never experienced, I remember camping up with my twin, and we were walking up Woodstock, and it was like we started late on a Friday, and it was 10 o'clock at night, and the moon was out, and we had camping gear, the tent and all that shit, and we laid down our backs and just intertwined together and just looked at the moon, the sky, for like an hour. We were just exhausted, resting. And finally went back up, and I was getting ready in the tent. And when I walked out of the tent, he had taken maybe 30 votives and had strewn them across the floor of the forest and the fallen logs. And so it was like all these lights. Men are incredible. Men can be incredible. They can be the most toxic pieces of shit. And there are a lot of them. I know. But men can have and bring so much magic to you. And so you got to give yourself a chance to find, not even to look, to heal your fucking father wound and mother wound, and to do the work that you need to do. And then eventually when you're not angry anymore, when you're no longer in despair, no longer believing that such men exist, the good one, will be brought to you. But I can tell you one thing that I tell all my clients. No good man is going to be brought to any woman who's still suffering her shit. And vice versa. It won't happen. It's not sustainable. So trust me, you'll find someone. And if you don't want to find someone, then that's fine. Maybe you need some time to be celibate. There's nothing wrong with being celibate. But don't be celibate because you're fucking pissed off. Be celibate because you know you need to heal some shit. And you need some time for yourself. Anyway, so any questions? Namaste. So I hope this helps, because I know that you're being blasted with a lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of rage. And if I were your age right now and I was listening to shit, I'd lose my mind. Meaning I'd be like, what the fuck? Right? I'd give up. I've never been on a dating app, and the most important men of my life I met on my own. I met on a beach, no one there. I remember my fiance knocked on the door of our friend. It was a mutual friend. We didn't know each other. Knocked on the door and we made eye contact, and that was the beginning of the beginning. This is how shit happens. Trust the universe. The universe will bring them to your door. That's literally what happened to me. My twin, I met him on a beach alone. And we ended up having an almost 40 plus year connection and union eventually. So that lasted until death. So I just want to give you another perspective, because when I'm scrolling TikTok, for example, and what I'm seeing would give any young woman, Gen X or millennials, it would make me think that it's never going to happen. And I can assure you it will. And it will. But it won't be attracted to if you're hopeless, in a state of despair, in a state of rage, and belittling and focusing all your energies on the toxic masculine. You've got to focus on, and I know you have wonderful men, at least one or two in your life. Could be your brother, could be a friend, could be a cousin. I don't know. Maybe you're lucky, even your father or an uncle. I know my uncle's a great guy. He's French. He's fantastic. He's a good man. He went to Dharamsala to help with the Dalai Lama with some of the kids that needed to be fitted for glasses, and he was there for 3 weeks donating his time. There's some good men out there. So, and there's some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful women. Wonderful high priestesses who are generous and loving and sensual and funny and smart. Oh my God, smart as a whip and curious. And if you could just connect these two energies, polar opposites, genders, that are so different from each other and yet fit so well like a puzzle, you would have so much fun. I could tell you stories. I mean, I could go on and tell you all the stories of the fun shit I did with my twin. Shit that people our age would have never done. We were always in our childlike energy together. We would read to each other, make love, cook together, take long hikes together, run up hills, talk shit to each other about who could run up that hill fastest, beat each other on races. We'd act like fucking teenage kids. We'd fight like hell. We'd fight and rage and scream at each other in the woods, by the lake, by the rivers. And then we would actually walk away from each other and then come back together apologizing, eyes downcast, almost tear-filled, like what the fuck was that all about? Why that storm? Why this ego? Yeah. So if I were you, I would look for a lot of content creators that tell you how to heal your shit and how to manifest so that you can manifest the love of your life. Because if you've never had the love of your life, then you're missing out. You're missing out on some pretty special magical times. Anyway, I'll let you go. Sending you much love on your journey. Namaste.